Okay, guys, what's got me up at 4 a.m. in the morning and me wearing my UNC hat? Well, it's time for the Audio Advice Live wrap-up show, best of, and some of the worst of. Stay tuned. Okay, guys, welcome back to the channel. Really up at 4 in the morning on a Monday morning, just FYI. But had to get this video out. It's well overdue, although I've been giving you still tons of stuff from my travels to Raleigh, North Carolina for the Audio Advice Live show. My first time attending this show. And spoiler alert, it was a winner. I was very impressed. And so one of my best ofs right off the bat, I do these things off the cuff. I have no notes or anything. I tell you, I'm going to tell you what pops to my head when I think of this show. And the first thing that pops to my head is what a well-run operation Audio Advice Live was. Wow. I went in intentionally not doing a whole lot of homework on Audio Advice Live. Like I said, I've never even attended the show before. And they tend to do a lot of stuff with press and influencers that also do affiliate commissions. And let me just get this out of the way. I have no problem with people doing affiliate commissions. You have to make money somehow with this type of business. And the stigma of affiliate commissions, yeah, there is a stigma about it, but I don't think it applies. It used to apply to these websites where these software developers would come up with this rip-off software, but they would offer big affiliate commissions to YouTubers, create a video, and then if it's a positive review, you get an affiliate commission, and people would just create fake reviews for this affiliate commission, and the product was crap. I don't think that's a big problem. At least, well, I haven't seen all the videos. I don't know everybody doing affiliate commissions. There was one guy that got a little bit of hot water, or at least some drama-related affiliate commissions, like doing a affiliate commission review positive, doing a competing product that wasn't an affiliate commission negative, both totally fine, but then part of the negative review pivoted people to go check out the one that had the affiliate commission and the positive review. It can all be legitimate. That could be a totally legitimate recommendation, but the perception is what the problem is with affiliate commissions. But I'm here to tell you, overall, I don't think it's a problem in this industry, and I give kudos to Audio Advice Live for using that as one of their strategies. I don't think that's solely why they're growing, though, because what I noticed firsthand, they are doing an exceptional job training people and just providing an entire suite of audio and visual products that people can enjoy. Wide range of budgets, quality, everything. And one of the takeaways, because I didn't do a lot of research, I wanted to kind of just go there and see who stood out to me. Do I know who the CEO is just from, I used to do this when I was a CPA, auditing companies, go into the boardroom meeting, see who's the CFO, who's the CEO, who's just the secretary, who's just, this position. And you can kind of tell a lot just by intuition and osmosis of who's in charge. Well, what was so fascinating and a positive for Audio Advice Live is, yes, the CEO is very impressive, but you really couldn't differentiate from a lot of the people that they had there, and they had a ton of people there. It was one of the things that scuttlebutt among other people I was talking to, both manufacturers, distributors, brands, and even press. So impressed with how well this show was run and the quality of people behind it. It's only their 4th year, too, and it's already the biggest show in terms of home theater demo rooms. Now, I think CD is a bigger show, obviously, but they use this hotel that has plenty of rooms that they can create conference rooms for more home theater demos. Now, let me just get out of the way a few of the little negatives. The hotel was not a winner for me individually. I'm just singling this out. I had no hot water. They didn't allow early check-in. I got there so early, and they kept telling me, come back in an hour, come back in an hour. It'll be ready. I came back like 5 times. And there's food in that restaurant. Even in Raleigh as a general, I love Raleigh. I showcased Raleigh, in fact, the suburbs with Dennis System I went to one time when I was there last week, and also Van System, where I was one of the best systems I've ever heard. And then I also got my North Carolina hat. I was actually in enemy territory, North Carolina state territory, where Raleigh was. But anyway, restaurant-wise, I even had one of my meals totally comped. The waiter felt so bad. But those are just minor things. The hotel itself, though, if I want to ding it on show things, there is heavy bleed through, but that's normal with every show. A lot of people were complaining, though, about the bleed through. Sometimes you were getting 70 dB of noise from the room next to you in your room. So it's so hard to do any kind of qualitative comparison of the sound when you have that kind of bleed through. But the real problem for 2-channel people was the actual hotel rooms, the faux wood floors. If you did not have a carpet, rug, or something covering that and other things, it was super problematic. I mean, some of the worst sound I've ever heard at a show, unfortunately, occurred at this show. And I even joke because Van, who you've seen on my channel, came and joined me, and we had a string when he first showed up of just, you know, rolling our eyes like, well, what did we just hear? And I blamed him as being my bad luck charm. But here's where a high IQ, somebody that goes to show a lot, you gain a higher IQ for knowing that it's not the gear's fault, and that you can tell when you look in a room and how it's set up, and especially if there's no treatment, that this is not indicative of the gear. And the perfect example was the YG room with the DVLA amp. This was among one of the worst sounding rooms, especially because he played it loud and pretty much too loud for that room. It was only exacerbating the issues, but it was one of the worst sounding rooms. But that's the last thing I would attribute to the gear. Number one, because first of all, YG, when people ask me recommendations of point source box speakers, without hesitation, my first thing is, well, have you heard YG yet? I mean, they're among the best of the best, highly recommended. So this is a case where knowing if it doesn't sound good, it's other things involved. And that DVLA amp actually was quite impressive looking. A little pricey, I think, but the gold leaf and everything about that was cool. So you have to acquire that acumen and higher IQ when you go to shows, and that's what I want to relay to you. Don't always just knee-jerk come out and say, that brand sucks. It wasn't really the brand's fault. Now, you can ding somebody for setting up a room wrong or not bringing treatments and all that. That's fair game. And to that end, let me transition to some of my best of. One of my best of was right off the bat. I visited the Fidelity Imports room with Primaire and Perlisten, and it was phenomenal. But here's a story I want to share with you behind the scenes. I actually went up to their room the night before just to see the guys. I know the guys, and they were setting up the room. I had to be like 7 o'clock or later at night on the long ways where the window, the one window in the room was, you know, facing you, and the system was on that wall, which for people walking in is more conducive to sight and whatnot. Well, when I went in the next morning, it was actually on the long wall opposite, and they told me they just couldn't get it to work. And that was a familiar thing with all those bad rooms I heard. It was, you know, with that window in the back wall plus the floors. Fidelity moved it last minute. That takes a lot of effort. Let me just tell you, when you're tired and you got a big weekend coming up, to all of a sudden pivot at the last minute, night before a show, and move everything, you got to give super credit to distributors, any manufacturers that set things up this way and try to give you the best possible experience. So big props to the gear there. I've done some stuff recently with Primaire. The Perlisten sounded great with it. And props to Fidelity for committing to giving you the best possible experience in one of the worst quality rooms. Now, I will make one exception on sound quality in all those hotel rooms. I did hear something really good in the Source Point room. That's because Andrew had a suite that didn't have as much of the problematic things that the smaller normal hotel rooms have. And let me just tell you, here's another example, perfect example. Source Points at Expona, those V10 Master Edition new release, I would have told you that was, just on sound quality alone, one of the poorest experiences I had sound-wise at Expona. But I knew, as I said in my video, there was no way it was because of the speakers. Again, volume issues with the guy playing it. Electronics could have been a little bit different from this show and that show, but I'm sure it was MoFi stuff, Hi-Fi Rose or something. You know, it definitely had room issues and other stuff. It wasn't the gear. And sure enough, when I went into Source Point room here at Audiophile Live, He played the exact same song that I heard at Expona, tons better. In fact, Expona, I went to that room, and then I went to the PS audio room, which was right next door. They were playing the exact same song as the Source Point room, and it was much better at Expona than the Source Point room. But this time, I went into the Audio Advice Source Point room. That was one of the better, period, of any show I've gone to, of Queen Mary in that room. So the same song 3 different times, you can have such a variety of performance levels. And so again, perfect example of gain that acumen, guys, and don't knee-jerk blame the gear. This is a show, especially when you do have poor rooms, that's when you want to talk to the people. That's when you want to spend more time on the technology. Get that intuition, comfort with that level. And so really one of the biggest takeaways, I don't think many audiophiles would be wowed by the sound of any of those rooms. I'd be surprised if any press found that was the case. But one room was actually super impressive. In fact, one of the things I do with these shows reports is, what would I buy or thinking of buying from any of the rooms I go into? And right off the cuff, I know Chief Audio Man asked me this off camera before they even started their presentation with Andrew Jones that I covered on this and shared with you guys. Check that out if you haven't. But he asked me, what did I see at the show that, was most impressive? And my knee-jerk response was, it was a room that had room treatments. Kinetic Audio is the name of the, I'm sorry, I don't have the full name, but off the cuff, but it was called Kinetics, and they have mobile room treatments. And the thickness was not that thick. It was only like 2.5 inches, 3 inches most. And yet, what he was telling me in terms of its ability to attenuate certain frequencies, it was covering a much wider range at a bigger delta than I would have expected for that size. And what really was the great takeaway is that it was mobile. So that's great, especially if you have a tool like the Bach. I mean, the Bach is going to tell you what's getting to your ears. And so many times it shows you could just mash treat a wall to hope you get, but it's so good to have something that's mobile, put it in an exact location. And we've shown at shows 1 foot difference here versus here can make the difference of what gets to your ears and corrupts the imaging. And so you can spend so much less money when you have a tool like the Bach giving you that instantly, and also a mobile room treatment like the Kinetics did. And what I give them huge credit for is they took 2 rooms. They have one room with none of their treatments, and then they had another room with their treatments. So then you had this comparison that was like obvious without even playing music. I didn't even stay to play music. I didn't need to hear the benefit of their product. You could tell what my voice sounded like, the other person's voice sounded like, even on probably the YouTube video of the empty room versus the room with their treatments. And that tells you all you need to know. And I've gotten a good acumen over the years of what a room should sound like and how much it should or shouldn't add to the actual recording. And that was a great demo. Also, great demos as usual. Acoustics, they do an A/B demo. I've covered that many times on the channel, so I didn't really sit through that again, but that was definitely award-winning. There were so many. I think the DSP from Lingdorf, really good value with DSP. I was very shocked that those speakers against the wall, smaller drivers, were able to produce the amount of bass it did at the cost that they're asking, and the lifestyle friendliness plus DSP and measurement. To that end, JTR was using a mini DSP. They were able to get some very high quality metrics from a difficult room. So you're starting to see that more and more. When we get to the stuff that I couldn't film for you, home theaters, this is where DSP and technology is actually superseding what audiophiles for the most part have done, because you're seeing Trinoff, you're seeing Anthem and all these other companies doing their own type of room correction, which if it works for multi-channel, it works for 2-channel, and especially if you're integrating subs. I mean, it's almost an indispensable tool. Now, the Trinoff was one of the more impressive. I can't give you videos. I couldn't give you a lot of videos from the home theater demo. Reason being, guys, I've said this before, I have no problem giving you videos that I make no money on. That's most of my content, because anything that has musical content gets demonetized. They let me put it up. At least some bands don't, like Eagles and some Bob Dylan stuff and all that. So be careful about that. If you play it at shows, most YouTubers won't be able to show the video. But for the most part, they will let you put up the video, but they demonetize it, so I make no money. I'm just doing this free for you guys. However, there's video content, especially like Top Gun Maverick. As soon as you put any content of that on there, the entire video gets blocked. I don't even have the choice to take no money. They just block it, period. So every one of these demos had copyrighted stuff that got my video totally blocked. I couldn't share with you. So anecdotally, I will share with you though, very impressive home theater demos. And I think that's part of the Audio Advice Live formula for growth. And they partnered with some really great brands at this show. They had the Focal and Name, A+. In fact, they had a huge room. And one of the reasons why Audio Advice Live, the scuttlebutt going around is that Audio Advice Live is the #1 show now, or at least top 2 or 3, for home theater demos. And you think, how can that be? They've only been around 4 years. CEDIA is a much bigger show. Well, CEDIA has a huge convention center, but in order to do an actual home theater demo, you have to build a room within that thing. And not a lot of people can do that. And it's also more confined and tight. And so you don't really get a true impression. The Focal Name room that they had at this show was huge, very impressive, well set up. And Focal is alone with the Diva Utopia on the 2-channel side, embracing active crossovers, DSP, the type of things that are taking technology and leveraging it for our benefit, absent the people that have stale dogmas in this industry. If you sit there and listen and understand how much performance benefit can be achieved with active crossovers, DSP and all that, you'll soon realize that some of these dogmas are antiquated. So props to them. Also, the Trinov demo with Ascendo, very impressive. I will say Trinov with their waveforming, impressive. I had very good bass performance off axis for the demo. However, you have to put so many subs for that waveforming to work on the back, on the front, budget-wise, size and space-wise, practicality-wise. It's still a quite challenging thing for me to justify. However, but I give them major props for doing it at the show. That's not easy to install, especially even in-ceiling speakers at all of these rooms. They at a hotel, they did all the in-ceiling stuff too. But also, Ascendo and Trinov room had a infrasonic sub. Now, I think they claimed it was the first infrasonic sub. I didn't want to be the actually guy and say, technically, I think Eminent Technology with that propeller sub that I've mentioned on this channel. In fact, I wanted to install it in my room at some point. But that was probably the first infrasonic audiophile sub. But again, I wasn't actually guy, but I give them props for having an infrasonic sub there. Anthem and Paradigm did a good demo. Really, the one that stood out to me probably the most on the home theater from both audio and visual was the Martin Logan one. I think they had Trinov 2 there, but the screen that they had with the JVC projector, other than at CEDIA for some of these LED screens that are total blackness, this was a very impressive picture at 8K, huge, I think 185-inch screen with the Martin Logan electrostatics. And again, I'm a big electrostatic fan. I've owned Martin Logans, and really Martin Logans for home theater is really a great match. I think that is something that is a treat. It has some advantages over non-electrostatics. So that was very impressive. The only ding I would say is that when you have a screen 185 inches like they had and had to put the center channel on the floor, that's going to be a compromise for audio purposes. At least in my case, you can tell that the voices are down low to the floor no matter how you angle it. And, putting a speaker on the floor versus, up more traditionally on axis, away from the floor is going to be part of the compromise. So you could easily get away with less than 185 inches. You don't need 185 inches. Most people's home wouldn't even fit it. And bring that center channel up by Martin Logan. Very impressive home theater demo. So really, the other thing that I might consider buying is the coastal speakers, the outdoor speakers, because my Airbnb that I've been sharing with you guys is going to have indoor, outdoor kind of covered area. So giving you guys that come there and want to be outside listening to audiophile quality, you can't find much better quality than those coastal outdoor speakers. Very impressive when you look at the internals of them, how they keep water out and keep them weatherproof. So they are a bit pricey, but the performance is there. It's true high end, and especially when they show you the cutaways and talk to you about it and how seamlessly it fits to the decor, big props to them. And really, I'm just going to call it at this point. I mean, these are the things that pop to my head. I'm sure there's some other brands and things that I saw that are noteworthy. I think you should definitely... Oh, actually, one thing that was noteworthy is that Sound of Silence song, the AI song. I think I was in one of the rooms. I think it might have even been the KEF. Oh, that's really a room I should shout out, especially at budget, for budget purposes. Lots of good budget rooms there. But what really impressed me was the KEF is what they say, sound bar and that little tiny sub. I mean, very impressive. And you can put it up, down, streamline. It's basically like 2 speakers in there. And I'm going to have a review of the Canvas Hi-Fi, which is the best I've ever found. I think a little more pricey, but that's an amazing one. I have it now in my main room. Sound bars now are not sound bars. They are basically huge 2-speaker systems, full range, and certainly with the KEF sub and that sound bar. But what was funny is they were playing a song that I've had a special video on this channel about being AI. And AI even says it's AI, but there's still some debate, and some people in the room thought it wasn't. But by the end of us having that little discussion, I think they came around to my point of view on that. So it's a fun little video to check out if you didn't check out that one. But again, great weekend. Raleigh is a great town. Very few shows are downtown in the heart of a city that they visit. So there's pluses and minuses to that. I mean, sometimes an inner city is not as safe as a rural suburbia, but I felt safe there. And again, other than my meals, it was a fun weekend, and I definitely plan on going back. So thumbs up to Audiophile Live. Hope you enjoyed my coverage. Plenty more to come, so I'll see you back here soon.